right, Ryan Reynolds here for Mint Mobile. Are you looking for a beach read this summer? May I suggest your big wireless bill? It's got suspense, mystery, a slightly flat emotional arc, and a shocking twist where you realize you've been overpaying the entire time. Fortunately, though, Mint's story is better. Every plan, $15 a month, even unlimited. That's it. Happy ending, zero tears. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3 months, $90 for 6 months, or $180 for 12-month plan required. $15 per month equivalent. Taxes and fees extra. Initial plan term only. Greater than 50 gigabytes may slow when network is busy. See terms.
Sleep Number's new collections are designed to adapt to the changing nature of your life and your sleep needs. Whether it's the personalized comfort of the new Comfort Mode mattress, the targeted pressure relief of the Comfort Next mattress, or the Climate Collection that actively cools or warms to help you fall asleep and stay asleep.
And now, get early access to our biggest sale of the year. Save 25% on the new Comfort Next Luxe for a limited time. Only at a Sleep Number store or sleepnumber.com.
And away we go, episode 1380 of the Al Galdi podcast. It is Tuesday, August 4th, 2026. It is the day after the 2026 MLB Trade Deadline, which was on Monday at 6 p.m. Eastern. And Monday ended up being quite the day for the Washington Nationals and Baltimore Orioles. The Nats on Monday traded starting pitcher Foster Griffin. The O's on Monday traded catcher Adley Rutschman, outfielder Taylor Ward, and relief pitcher Tyler Wells. And those were just the headline players traded by the Nats and O's on Monday. A lot to get to. Breakdowns of what the Nats and O's did regarding the 2026 MLB Trade Deadline coming up later in the show. And I'll give you analysis of a sixth consecutive loss for the Nats, a 6-3 loss at the Philadelphia Phillies on Monday evening in a game in which the Nats blew a 3-0 seventh-inning lead as we had yet another implosion by Nats relief pitching. Hello and welcome to this Tuesday installment of the Al Galdi podcast, which follows Washington, D.C. area sports so that you don't have to. This also is a podcast in which we talk Washington Commanders on every episode, no matter the time of year. We on Monday morning had the first padded practice of 2026 Washington Commanders training camp. Next segment, injury updates, examination of Washington having signed a center, unrestricted free agent center Trey Hill, details of Washington's first padded practice of this training camp, and conversation about the nature of the padded practice off comments from head coach Dan Quinn. The following segment, discussion of quarterback Jayden Daniels, tight end Chig Okonkwo, right guard Samuel Cosmi, outside linebacker Odafe Oweh, and more off comments from Quinn, Okonkwo, and Oweh, including Quinn saying that Daniels so far in training camp is, quote, even further ahead, end quote, than anticipated. Very nice to hear that. You can hit me up on X at Al Galdi. You can email me the Al Galdi podcast at yahoo.com. You could reach me via writing a review of the podcast on Apple Podcasts. You could write about whatever you want, and I'll read what you write if you give the podcast a 5-star rating. From Mike R. or Miker on X on Dan Quinn adopting a mantra of BMF for the 2026 Washington Commanders. We on Monday's show, episode 1379, discussed Quinn during his pre-practice press conference this past Saturday morning, explaining why the team is going with BMF as a mantra. Writes Miker, more BMF from last year when DQ got dropped. Thank you for that, Miker. And he and his post on X includes a link to a video that includes multiple players during their post-game sessions with reporters for Washington's 41-24 win over the Las Vegas Raiders at Northwest Stadium this past September 21st. And two players referred to Dan Quinn as a, wait for it, BMF. Although in different ways. But as you may recall, Quinn in that game took quite the shot. 1st and 10 for Washington at the Raiders 40 with 8 seconds left in the second quarter. Quarterback Marcus Mariota had a 3-yard shotgun run out of bounds, and he, in running out of bounds, crashed into Dan Quinn, who took a nasty back first fall on which his head snapped back, and Quinn came up with a bloodied face due to a cut on his nose. Mariota for that game was Washington's starting quarterback due to Jayden Daniels being inactive due to a knee injury. Here was linebacker Frankie Louvu during his post-game session with reporters for that game, talking about Dan Quinn taking that back first fall.
He popped up like toast, and and I was like, hey, D, you good? He looked at me, and he gave me a nod. You know what I mean? I was like, oh, yeah, that's a real bad mother. You already know.
Okay, so Frankie Louvu referring to Dan Quinn as a BMF, although not in that exact way. And then here was edge defender Javonte Jean-Baptiste during his post-game session with reporters for that game, talking about Dan Quinn taking that back first fall. Oh, you'll first hear a question from Commanders insider J.P. Finley of NBC4 Washington.
Where were you when DQ went down?
Man, I was right there. I was like a little bit behind, but I really didn't notice what happened. I just seen him boom. Now I look up on the screen. I'm like, who's that on the ground? I'm like, oh, DQ. He all right? But, that's our leader. He a BMF.
There you go. Javonte Jean-Baptiste saying of Dan Quinn, quote, he a BMF, end quote. So maybe this is the root of Dan Quinn's BMF mantra for the team in the 2026 season. Himself. Maybe Quinn said, hey, I'm a BMF. Let's use that as the mantra for the 2026 Washington Commanders. I am kidding, of course, but interesting that BMF did come up regarding Dan Quinn just last September, and he was a BMF in how he took that fall like a champ. Came up with a bloodied face due to a cut on his nose, but continued to coach, and Washington got a very nice win. 2026 Washington Commanders training camp is underway. Football season is here. If you would like to grow your business or practice, consider advertising on this podcast. We're offering great deals in honor of the football season. Podcast advertising is very affordable and works. Put the power of the pod to work for you. Get your message out there to thousands of successful people in the Washington, D.C. area. Grow your business or practice. We'd love to have you on board. Email us to see what we can do for you. The email address is thealgaldipodcast@yahoo.com. So the Washington Commanders on Sunday had an off day, but they on Monday morning had their first padded practice of 2026 training camp. And we, prior to the practice, got some good injury news. Washington on Monday morning announced having removed linebacker Keane Medrano from the active/physically unable to perform list. He had been on that since July 29th due to a hamstring injury. So your updated injury list for Washington in terms of what we know is, keep in mind the team during training camp and the preseason is not obligated to put out any official injury reports. Washington has 3 players on the active/physically unable to perform list. Defensive ends Dorrance Armstrong and Dietrich Wise Jr. and cornerback Trey Amos. Washington has 1 player on the active/non-football injury list, punter Tress Way. Washington has 2 offensive players out with injury, but still on the active roster. Center Nick Allegretti, calf strain, and tight end John Bates, hamstring strain. Specific to Trey Amos and Tress Way, Amos is dealing with soft tissue soreness off his fractured fibula that was suffered in Washington's 44-22 loss to the Detroit Lions at Northwest Stadium this past November 9th. Way is dealing with a pectoral muscle injury. This was head coach Dan Quinn during his pre-practice press conference on Monday morning on where things are with Trey Amos and Tress Way.
I would say, with like Trey and Tress, a couple other guys who are, we'll get a good assessment on them Thursday, and then we'll know the next block after that. Okay, is that something that we can work back in with those two? So that's a little bit of the timeline. Our next big assessment with them will be Thursday.
All right, so this Thursday, a notable day for Trey Amos and Tress Way. Washington on Sunday afternoon announced having signed unrestricted free agent center Trey Hill and having released cornerback Trey Hawkins. So the Trey Hill signing in response to Nick Allegretti being out. The 2026 season would be Trey Hill's age 26 season. He provides depth at center with Julian Good-Jones and Matt Golbin as Washington's top 2 centers beyond Allegretti. But understand this about Trey Hill. He has played in just 1 NFL regular season game over the last 3 seasons, 2023 through 2025. His only NFL regular season game over the last 3 seasons was on October 20th, 2024, and he in that game only played on special teams. So Hill was taken by the Cincinnati Bengals in the 6th round of the 2021 NFL Draft out of the University of Georgia. This was Dan Quinn on Monday morning on why the team signed Trey Hill.
Some of it was depth, honestly, just to make sure, like, you always want, 4 up and ready to go into that spot. So the interior guys who can do that, and sometimes it's a little bit of experimentation to say, can you or not? Is that something that you can add to the group? So Brandon is fully on competing for the left guard spot. And so some of the afterwards is just, okay, can you add this to your plate? Maybe not in the practice right now, but eventually down the line. Tim McKay is one that we did that with last year. Now he can do all the interior spots. So if you can play inside, you want somebody that can play both spots. And that's basically kind of the rhythm behind it.
Okay, so when it comes to this padded practice on Monday morning, the padded practice is a special thing. The padded practice is when an NFL training camp starts getting real. This is when you can learn a lot about offensive linemen, running backs, and defensive linemen especially. And this was a fun back-and-forth practice. We must always beware of reading too much into play-by-play of a training camp practice, but there was some good stuff going on during this padded practice on Monday morning. From Commanders insider John Keim of ESPN on Monday morning over multiple posts on X, quote, "First play in team, Krosky Merritt up the middle and popped by Sonny Styles. Second play, good quick out by Antonio Williams for a TD. Daniels to Terry McLaurin to the corner of the end zone, tap feet, TD. CB Mikey Sainristil broke up consecutive plays in the red zone today. Both throws to the corner in a last-second drill. Good eyes, good positioning," end quote. From Commanders insider Nikki Javala of The Athletic on Monday morning over multiple posts on X, quote, "Chig Okonkwo got bent awkwardly when tackled, looked a little shaken up on the sideline, then came back in 2 plays later for a diving catch in the back of the end zone. OL versus DL one-on-ones. Adam Peters watching from one side, Dan Quinn watching from the other. Sam Cosmi not effing around in this camp," end quote. From Commanders insider Ben Standig of Last Man Standing on Substack on Monday afternoon as part of a post on X, quote, "Jayden Daniels' accuracy is back. Began with a pinpoint fade TD pass to McLaurin and then somehow found a covered Okonkwo in the back of the EZ," end quote. Easy as in end zone. Hey, the kickers are doing well. We have this kicker competition between incumbent Jake Moody and Drew Stevens, an undrafted rookie out of the University of Iowa. If you've been following the reporting on how each guy is doing in training camp, you know that each guy is doing well, and Monday morning's practice was an especially good practice for these guys. From senior writer Zach Selby of Commanders.com on Monday morning in a post on X, quote, "Both kickers were a perfect 6 for 6 today," end quote. From Commanders insider Martenzie Johnson of Notice on Monday morning in a post on X, quote, "Today's kicking competition from 33, 38, 43, 48, 53, 58 yards. Jake Moody, 6 for 6. Drew Stevens, 6 for 6, end quote. From Commanders insider JP Finley of NBC4 Washington on Monday morning in a post on X, quote, "Jake Moody has kicked well this camp, came ready for the battle," end quote. So even the kickers had themselves a good time during this padded practice. The preseason games, of course, set up to be big in the kicker competition. Washington's 3 games in the 2026 preseason, home to the Miami Dolphins on Friday night, August 14th at 7, at the Detroit Lions on Saturday, August 22nd at noon, and at the Baltimore Ravens on Friday evening, August 28th at 6. This was Dan Quinn on Monday morning on what especially stands out in a padded practice, and then we'll hear a follow-up exchange between Commanders insider Tashawn Reed of the Washington Post and Quinn.
I would say the run game has a big factor, especially at the line of scrimmage. It doesn't change where the target is. It doesn't change that. It does change how you can fit combinations of blocks, get into the next level, work into that. And I think the pass protection, that's another big one to go, where the line of scrimmage guys, that's to me where so much of it is. There'll be a lot of parts of practice that would feel similar, whether it was with pads or without. So good guidelines for that. I see you see me. That's where the contact happens. We're trying to avoid a big hit from the side that would do it down. So we just try to work it as hard as we can. We got good competitions for that today, but it is an important part of the evaluation at some positions more than others. And I would say line of scrimmage, obviously, that's a big piece of their part. So the ongoing evaluations on these days like today and Wednesday and into the weekend, I would say it elevates that.
And I know a lot of the focus is on the trenches, like you said, when the pads come on, but how does it also change the interaction between, the secondary and receivers, with the secondary being able to be more physical now?
Yep, same thing, blocking, and one person that comes to mind is Luke McCaffrey. I thought, for 2 years, you've seen this grow at the position of what it looks like, and so to see the receivers into the blocking, the DBs engaging, I got cracked, and I get lockout to go, kind of thud up on the back as a corner when all of it bounces out to me. So it's definitely a big part of it. The line of scrimmage, like in man-to-man techniques and that, it doesn't change a whole heck of a lot, but it is more in the run game.
And interesting to hear Dan Quinn highlight receiver Luke McCaffrey for his blocking. More on the padded practice. We on Monday morning had this exchange between Ben Standig and Dan Quinn.
In light of said that you wanted this to be a more competitive camp. You've done things to have that happen. Is there anything today with regards to the path in terms of drills that you're maybe emphasizing a bit more, like linemen going one-on-one, things like that?
There'll be linemen doing some one-on-ones and pass protection, but not in a run blocking sense. We'll get more of that during the team element of it. So that would be one example of that. But past that, we want to be a featured part of practice, but not anything that's one-off or a drill that maybe we saw years ago. We don't do anymore.
Yeah, there was no Oklahoma drill for Washington on Monday morning. Do you remember the Oklahoma drill at 2001 Washington Redskins training camp 25 years ago? Marty Schottenheimer, he was with Washington for just one season. He, for the 2001 season, was the Skins head coach and director of football operations. The Skins in the 2001 regular season went from 0-5 to 8-8, but owner Dan Snyder fired Schottenheimer in January 2002, and so Schottenheimer lasted for just one season with the Skins. Anyway, Schottenheimer during 2001 Skins training camp famously had players do the Oklahoma drill. I'll read to you from a piece from the late great ESPN NFL insider John Clayton on ESPN.com from July 2001. Quote, "The scene was vintage Schottenheimer, an old-school coach returning to show that fundamentals and live contact turn teams into winners. As he did with the Chiefs, Schottenheimer let hundreds of Redskins fans rush to the field to circle around a reenactment of the old Oklahoma drill. That's when a defender goes through a blocker to tackle a running back. Schottenheimer had 41-year-old cornerback Darryl Green participate in addition to dusting off his punt returning skills. 3 scuffles broke out, including extracurricular activities between 38-year-old defensive end Bruce Smith and 23-year-old fullback Brian Johnson. Schottenheimer is old school, and he's proud of it. His camps usually open with one set of Oklahomas. Watching the response of the Redskins lets you know why. Defenders slammed into each other with celebratory chest bumps after huge hits. In the afternoon practice, virtually every linebacker, particularly LeVar Arrington and Keith Mitchell, leveled offensive players with clean, fair hits. As the Oklahoma drill proceeded, Schottenheimer moved the bags closer together to tighten up the impact." End quote. Yeah, Marty Schottenheimer, the general, he loved himself some Oklahoma drill. No Oklahoma drill at 2026 Washington Commanders training camp. No fights during Washington's padded practice on Monday morning. That was good. Everyone behaved. Hopefully no injuries, too. We on Monday morning had this exchange with Dan Quinn.
Coach, with the pads coming on, naturally things get more physical and you want to see competition, but what do you say to the guys beforehand? Because they're going up against their teammates, and number one thing important coming out of camp is being healthy.
Yeah, for sure. Like being smart, that's our rule of protecting the team. So they know I go through the video of what we're looking for, how we want right at the edge, but never across it. The analogy I use, and I showed an example the other night of sparring partners, and the best of the best have really strong ones that, I could have got you right there. All right, keep your hand up. So that's a good analogy, I think, for us, because it's pushing it to the space but never going past it. And that's a learning process, and we're not going to nail all of that today on the first day. And so new players, how we're getting it together, but we'll improve as we're going. But that's the analogy that I bring up. I showed an old picture of Ken's father and Joe Frazier and why they made each other better. And so that's the analogy I try to use.
All right, great time of year as we are in the heart of summer. Whatever you're up to this summer, Quince has you covered with great clothing. Go to quince.com/Galdi for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. Quince focuses on well-made essentials that naturally become those everyday staples that you actually live in all season long, like the shorts that I got from Quince, sand dune colored cotton chino drawstring shorts. They look and feel great. They go with just about anything. They are the workhorse of the Galdi shorts rotation for the summer of 2026. Clothes from Quince are the summer upgrade that your rotation needs. Quince's 100% European linen pants and shirts are breathable and are easy to throw on, starting at just $34. Quince's tees are soft enough to live in all day, and the lightweight cotton sweaters are exactly what you want when summer nights cool down. And Everything at Quince is priced 50 to 80% less than similar brands. Quince works directly with ethical factories and cuts out the middlemen, so you're paying for exceptional quality, not brand markup. Make your summer wardrobe easier. Go to quince.com/Galdi for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. Now available in Canada too. That's QUINCE.com/Galdi. Free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/Galdi. Life insurance. You and your family hopefully never need it, but not having it can make a tragic situation even worse. We have a family friend who lost her husband to cancer. Him not having life insurance made the ensuing years even more difficult. Well, Ethos makes getting life insurance fast and easy, 100% online. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. There's no medical exam. You'll just answer a few simple health questions. You can get up to $3 million in coverage. Some policies are as low as $30 a month. You'll get your lowest rate from Ethos' network of trusted carriers. And know this, Ethos has a rating of 4.8 out of 5 stars on Trustpilot with over 4,000 reviews. Take 10 minutes today to get covered with life insurance through Ethos. Get your free quote at ethos.com/AlGaldi. That's ethos.com/AlGaldi. Ethos.com/AlGaldi. Application times may vary. Rates may vary. Trustpilot rating as of June 1st, 2025.
Imagine buying your kid a toy only to find the batteries aren't included, or buying furniture but missing the tools to build it. Frustrating, right? Now imagine the exact same feeling, but you're paying way more. That is what buying business software usually feels like. Fragmented, disconnected, and incredibly expensive. Odoo completely changes that. Odoo is a complete, fully integrated business suite where all your apps actually talk to each other. We're talking automated lead routing for your sales team, seamless AI integration, and intuitive point-and-click website builder. It's everything your business needs to scale, saving you time, headaches, and money. Stop piecing your software together. Go to odoo.com. That's ODOO.com to learn more.
Sleep Number's new collections are designed to adapt to the changing nature of your life and your sleep needs. Whether it's the personalized comfort of the new Comfort Mode mattress, the targeted pressure relief of the Comfort Next mattress, or the Climate Collection that actively cools or warms to help you fall asleep and stay asleep.
And now, get early access to our biggest sale of the year. Save 25% on the new Comfort Next Luxe for a limited time. Only at a Sleep Number store or sleepnumber.com.
More now from 2026 Washington Commanders training camp. Off the Commanders on Monday morning holding their first padded practice of this training camp. What I want as much as anything with Washington in the NFL's 2026 season is for the QB1, Jayden Daniels, to have a monster bounce-back season. I want his 2026 season to obliterate any concerns about his durability off him playing in just 7 of Washington's 17 games in the 2025 regular season. I want his 2026 season to feature him playing at the high level at which we saw him play in his all-time great 2024 rookie season. Of course, a key factor in how Daniels does in the 2026 season is how he takes to a new offense, the offense of the team's new offensive coordinator, David Blau. Every indication during Washington's 2026 offseason program was that Daniels was taking to the new offense well, and Daniels' last 2 practices at this training camp, the practice this past Saturday morning and the practice on Monday morning, do appear to have been his best 2 practices of this training camp so far. With all of that as a backdrop, we, during head coach Dan Quinn's pre-practice press conference on Monday morning, had this exchange between Commanders insider Nikki Zavala of The Athletic and Quinn.
I know it's only, 4 days into camp, but has anybody surprised you so far? Anybody stood out?
There's a lot of guys that I thought just really came ready to get down, and I thought that was what I was looking for. That's what I was hoping to see. I thought no surprise, but I felt like Jayden was even further ahead maybe than I thought he might be into that space. But there's a lot that I'm pleased with, and I'm anxious. All I wanted for those guys was think about that 4-day block, and then as we're starting today, just these next 3 days, and see what went good, what do you want to improve. So I'm asking them not to look too far down, and can they really stay in it.
So, Dan Quinn was asked if any players had especially stood out during training camp so far, said that a lot of guys, quote, really came ready to get down, end quote, but the only player who Quinn specifically named was Jayden Daniels, saying that he, quote, was even further ahead, maybe, than I thought he might be into that space, end quote. Dan Quinn has said plenty of complimentary things about Jayden Daniels since the team took him with the number 2 overall pick in the 2024 NFL draft out of LSU, but it's one thing for Quinn to be asked specifically about Daniels and then say something nice about Daniels. It's another thing for Quinn to be asked the very open-ended question of, hey, have any players especially stood out during training camp so far, and only mention one specific player, and that player be Jayden Daniels. That's very encouraging. That's what you want to hear. I mean, he is by far the most important player on our team. That Daniels, per Quinn, quote, was even further ahead, maybe than I thought he might be into that space, end quote. Great to hear, especially that into that space part.
Into that space.
Yeah, into that space. Thank you, Dan Quinn. He loves the phrases in that space, into that space, etc. But something that we have come to know about Quinn since Washington hired him as head coach in February 2024 is that he, when asked to name players who are standing out or who are impressing, will give telling answers. Like what tends to be the case is that we get things out of those answers, and this answer on Monday morning was so good to hear. A few other specific Washington players who came up on Monday morning, tight end Chig Okonkwo, as noted last segment, had some standout moments during Monday morning's practice. So we, during this training camp, are seeing him line up all over the place, and that is in accordance with how he was used by the Tennessee Titans over his first 4 NFL seasons, 2022 through 2025. Okonkwo in the 2025 regular season lined up in the following ways for the following numbers of offensive plays per RotoWire. Right slot, 152 offensive plays, right tight, 151 offensive plays, left slot, 147 offensive plays, left tight, 117 offensive plays, right outside, 49 offensive plays, left outside, 30 offensive plays. So some versatility with Okonkwo in terms of how he can line up, and this is part of why it may well be that he is the true, quote, number 2 receiver, end quote, on this team. Significant unrestricted free agent acquisition for Washington this past March. Chig Okonkwo, he did a post-practice press conference on Monday morning. During that presser, had these exchanges.
Hey, Chig, I think when you signed, you were saying that, like, part of the appeal here was getting to run some different routes, maybe get the ball downfield a little bit more. How's that been kind of going so far, sort of showing more what you can do?
Yeah, it's been going well so far. You know, ever since OTAs, having an expanded playbook, it's allowed me to use my speed down the field a lot more.
Like they're having you kind of go here, there, and everywhere. Is that different than what you were kind of doing in Tennessee? Is it moving around as much?
No, I'm moving around a lot. Same as I've always done.
First team period. The touchdown in the back of the end zone you had, could you see the ball? It looked like you had a defender right in your face. Like how did that work out? It looked like a pretty good throw and catch.
Yeah, I was just Jayden. It's just like him throwing me open. I was kind of trying to keep that defender there. I didn't want to react too quick and let him turn around, so I was just waiting for the ball to get all the way to me, and when he wasn't looking. So
you're just talking about having the pads on and talking smack. And have you noticed from the defense like an extra effort to go after the ball, maybe sometimes after the whistle? Like,
oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely. Like even after the whistle, they're going at the ball. I mean, one time today, you know, KC got me after the whistle. But yeah, them boys are coming, and it's just nice to have that competition. It just raises up another level of competition.
Chig, going back to West, because he played receiver in the league, is there anything he's helped you with your route running in particular that's jumped out?
Just setting guys up. He's just showing us a lot of clips of using different routes, pairing different things together. Just teaching us a lot of what he thought when he was playing the game. A lot of DBs knows there's only a certain amount of routes from this area versus this area, and just teaching us how to be them as well as while we're being us as well.
What have you learned from Jayden? Even just I know you were with him in the spring, obviously, but what have you learned just from him throughout camp so far?
With him, it's really easy. You just got to be where you're supposed to be, and he'll find you with the accurate ball.
Yeah, offensive assistant Wes Welker now is Washington's lead assistant in terms of working with tight ends. Washington on July 27th put out the statement, quote, "We are parting ways with tight ends coach Ben Steele. The team will have no further comment at this time," end quote. And per court records for Loudoun County, Virginia, Steele on June 7th was arrested on suspicion of driving while intoxicated. And he faces additional charges for refusing a blood/breath test, obstructing/resisting without force, and changing course after signaling. But exciting to think about what Chig Okonkwo can be in this offense. Right guard Samuel Cosmi has drawn a good bit of praise for his work in this training camp. Nice to have him healthy. Cosmi in the 2025 regular season played in just 9 of Washington's 17 games as he was on the reserve/physically unable to perform list from August 26th to October 18th due to a torn right ACL that he suffered in the team's 45-31 win at the Detroit Lions on January 18th. 2025 in the divisional round of the NFL playoffs. And then Washington this past December 22nd announced having put Cosmi on the reserve/injured list due to a concussion that he suffered in the team's 29-18 loss to the Philadelphia Eagles at Northwest Stadium this past December 20th. We on Monday morning had this exchange between columnist Barry Zverluga of The Athletic and Dan Quinn.
When Cosmi came back in the season last year, I think people are like, well, okay, Sam Cosmi's back. But the reality is he's probably not physically the same guy. What do you see different in him having a full offseason now?
Yeah, and the big guys, I think what you see coming back specifically talking about like O-linemen and D-linemen from like ACL, there's like definitely an element of like confidence to coming back. So much of their game it's not built on like speed, how fast I can run. It's power. Can I withstand? Can I go? Can I put that foot in the ground when I got somebody charging at me with this kind of thing? So that's the thing that I see differently now. He doesn't think about it anymore. And so that confidence comes from not how strong you can be or, like in your physical testing, but absorbing all this pressure and stuff to come. So now you got real power to move people. And that's really one of Sam's strengths. He can anchor his size. And so the ability to like have confidence to like stick that foot in the ground when someone's trying to like, push you back. I definitely see that now.
And very nice to see that. Sam Cosmi, over his 9 games in the 2025 regular season, did play well. Overall grade per Pro Football Focus of 76.3. That's good. PFF grades are on a scale of 0 to 100. 60 is average. Someone on Washington's defense who is drawing consistent praise for his work in this training camp is outside linebacker Odafe Oweh, a part of a revamped edge defender core that includes outside linebacker Kayvon Chason and defensive end Charles Omenihu. All 3 were signed as unrestricted free agents this past March. We on Monday morning had this exchange between Lake Lewis Jr. of 106.1 ESPN Richmond and Dan Quinn.
The first couple of days, you could see the burst in athleticism from Odafe and Kayvon. Are there any parts to their game that maybe you guys didn't anticipate that you're seeing that they can do?
Yeah, that's a good question. I would say as you're putting in a new system, you're learning what to do, how are they featured. They're both interchangeable a lot, which is a big deal. Can they play right side, left side, rushing, dropping? So I wouldn't say anything different, but I do like the intensity that these two bring. I like, honestly, that Charles, Casey, Oweh, they bring an intensity even like amongst the 3 of them. And I think that's a pretty cool thing. I'm excited for Dorrance to be a part of that, just to push one another. And so when you have that kind of like competitiveness in a like very genuine way within the group, I think that's a good thing too.
Now, it's interesting, at least to me, Washington with its edge defenders is differentiating between outside linebackers and defensive ends. Yet another sign of the team going with a 3-4 base defense. The listed outside linebackers are Odafe Oweh, Kayvon Chason, Joshua Josephs, and Javonte Jean-Baptiste. The listed defensive ends are Dorrance Armstrong, Charles Omenihu, Dietrich Wise Jr., Drake Jackson, DJ Johnson, and TJ McGarren-Yanga. Odafe Oweh did a post-practice press conference on Monday morning. During that presser, had this exchange between Commanders insider John Keim of ESPN and Oweh, and then you'll hear a follow-up back and forth between Lake Lewis Jr. and Oweh.
Well, what has jumped out to you about how you guys what you've done so far?
Just being able to like line up and play the call. The bullets are flying right now. Obviously, a lot of the camp or a lot of the time we've been here, we've just been in the classroom, just learning the plays. But it's different when you have to apply it when you're on field. So just doing that, knowing the checks, the different things, because Durante has a great defense, but it's a complicated defense. So just understanding that when the bullets are flying, on top of that, conditioning. You don't get ready for football until you play football. So all that mixed together. So I'm proud of the guys for we had a little growing pains in the beginning. We're still working on it. We still got 40-something days to the first game. So the real game, but so I'm proud of the guys though. Mm-hmm.
Odafe, what part of your game would you say, outside of being a dominant pass rusher, what part of your game do you think is underrated?
I'll probably say my run game. I came in as a run defender. I had 0 sacks, so people forget that. I worked hard, and by the grace of God, He's helped me get better in the pass rushing aspect. But that's what run game was what I hung my hat on at first. So people forget that because pass I was a designated pass rusher in some defenses, but I'm really trying to get back to that. Playing stout in the run, forcing edges, getting to your fells and stuff like that.
And you've played under some really creative defensive coordinators, but how do you feel like Durante is utilizing your skill sets?
Just getting one-on-ones, attack style, letting us go, frontwards instead of backwards too much. We're still going to be, dropping a few. And I'm cool with that because, it keeps the offense on their toes. But that attack mindset, he's talked to me. He's given me a lot of, freedom and understanding, picking my spots, when to take chances and stuff like that, which I haven't, usually had in the past, except for the Chargers. But, I appreciate that, and I'm going to continue to hone in when I can take my shots and, make plays.
And we heard Odafe Oweh mention his time with the Chargers. He, for the Chargers, was a beast. Oweh was taken by the Baltimore Ravens with the number 31 overall pick in the 2021 NFL Draft out of Penn State. Played for the Ravens for the 2021 to 2025 seasons, and then was traded by the Ravens to the Los Angeles Chargers this past October 7th. And Oweh was very good for the Chargers. He over 12 games with the team in the 2025 regular season, totaled 7.5 sacks, and per the NFL's Next Gen Stats, generated the 6th highest pressure rate in the NFL among players each, with at least 200 pass rushes at 17.3%. Also, Oweh in the Chargers' 16-3 loss at the New England Patriots this past January 11th in the wild card round of the playoffs had 3 sacks, including 2 sack strips, in playing on just 39% of the Chargers' defensive snaps. Hey, whatever big event that you're planning, a wedding, a party, a corporate gathering, consider using a great sponsor of this podcast, Catering by Uptown. Visit cateringbyuptown.com and make sure that you mention that Al Galdi sent you. Catering by Uptown is outstanding. It is a family business. It is run by the Pereiras, who are terrific Washington Commanders fans, and Catering by Uptown will provide you and your event with excellent service. Catering by Uptown staff on the day of your event is the first to arrive and last to leave, and is fully prepared to offer quality, variety, and abundance, prepared to execute the plan that you and Catering by Uptown created together. Catering by Uptown specialty is weddings. Get excellent service at an affordable price. In fact, if you visit cateringbyuptown.com and click on venues, you can check out Catering by Uptown's premier wedding venues. Visit cateringbyuptown.com and make sure that you mention that Al Galdi sent you. That's cateringbyuptown.com and make sure that you mention that Al Galdi sent you. Well, the Washington Nationals on this big 8-game road trip comprised of 2 4-game series against the top 2 teams in the National League East now are 0-5. The Nats over this past Thursday through Sunday got swept in 4 games at the NL East leading Atlanta Braves, and the Nats on Monday evening lost at the Philadelphia Phillies 6-3 in Game 1 of a 4-game series. This was a game in which the Nats blew a 3-0 7th-inning lead. This also was a game in which Blake Butera was ejected for the first time as Nats manager, as he in the top of the 7th got ejected by home plate umpire Manny Gonzalez for arguing that Nasim Nunez was interfered with as he tried to escape a rundown between third base and home plate. He got tagged out. In, by the way, yet another instance of the Nats being too aggressive on a contact play. But bottom line, the Nats now have lost 6 consecutive games, and in MLB's 2026 regular season now are 55-59 with a run differential of +13. More on this loss at the Phillies in a bit, but when it comes to what the Nats did in the lead up to the 2026 MLB trade deadline, which was on Monday at 6 p.m. Eastern. So we wondered whether the Nats in this surprisingly successful season number 1 of a restarted rebuild would be buyers, sellers, or a combination of the two. The truth is that the Nats did end up being more sellers than anything else. Nats president of baseball operations, Paul Taboni, in the lead up to this deadline, made 4 trades. One was a combination of selling and buying, though I would argue was more selling than buying. 2 trades were sell-side trades, and 1 trade was neither selling nor buying. The 4 trades in chronological order. The Nats in the 12 a.m. Eastern hour on Sunday, July 26th, announced having traded third baseman / first baseman / second baseman Curtis Mead to the Boston Red Sox for starting pitcher Connolly Early. The Nats this past Sunday night announced having traded first baseman Luis Garcia Jr. to the New York Yankees for 4 pitchers, including 2 of the Yankees' top 25 prospects per MLB Pipeline. The Nats on Monday evening announced having traded starting pitcher Foster Griffin to the Cleveland Guardians for 4 prospects. And the Nats on Monday evening announced having traded outfield prospect Christian Franklin to the Baltimore Orioles for relief pitching prospect Joe Glassie. The Curtis Mead trade was a combination of selling and buying, though I would argue was more selling than buying. The Luis Garcia Jr. and Foster Griffin trades were sell-side trades, and the Christian Franklin trade was neither selling nor buying. So it stands out that the Nats were more sellers than buyers. It also stands out that the Nats in the lead-up to this trade deadline did not do much in the way of obvious immediate help for their biggest weakness, relief pitching, which was on full display on Monday evening. But if you as a Nats fan are bothered by all of this, I get it. Trust me, I do. As I have said, there with Nats fans is extremely understandable rebuild fatigue. But I am a big believer in what Paul Taboni is doing via his analytics-based process. He, since being hired by the Nats this past October 1st, has completely transformed Nats baseball operations in a very positive way. And so to me, Taboni does deserve a benefit of the doubt with having the Nats as more sellers than buyers for this trade deadline. Now, this benefit of the doubt comes with an important caveat. Nats ownership, the Lerner Group, does not deserve a benefit of the doubt. So if the Nats were more sellers than buyers regarding this trade deadline because that's what Taboni felt was best, fine. But if the Nats were more sellers than buyers regarding this trade deadline because the Lerner Group would not allow Taboni to buy as he wanted, well, that is a huge problem. But my sense is that the former was the case, that the Nats were more sellers than buyers regarding this trade deadline because that is what Taboni felt was best. The 4 players who the Nats got from the Guardians for Foster Griffin, starting pitching prospect Josh Hartle, who at the time of the trade was the Guardians' number 25 overall prospect per MLB Pipeline, relief pitching prospect Will Dion, relief pitching prospect Ken Douglas Bjergwes, and outfield prospect Nick Mitchell. The Nats, this past December 22nd, announced having signed Foster Griffin as a free agent to a 1-year contract, which reportedly was for just $5.5 million. This season is his age 30 season, but technically his MLB rookie season, off him having made his MLB regular season debut in 2020, but also having spent 3 seasons, 2023 through 2025, pitching in Japan. And Griffin for the Nats in this 2026 regular season was terrific, right? 22 games, all starts, ERA of 3.06, whip of 1.07, wins above replacement per Baseball Reference of 3.5. The recent reports that the Nats were trying and failing to sign Griffin to a contract extension indicated to me that they were going to trade him if they did not extend him, and sure enough, the Nats did trade him. Paul Taboni did a Zoom press conference with reporters on Monday evening. We, during that presser, had these exchanges, starting with this exchange between my co-host on the Nats Chat podcast, Nats insider Mark Zuckerman of NatsJournal.com, and Taboni.
As much as you can share, what kind of conversations did you have with Foster about a potential extension before this? And once it became clear in your mind that wasn't going to be doable by today, did that kind of force your hand, or like would you have been willing to wait that out over any period of time?
Yeah. This was probably the most difficult thing to do in practice, just because I think you're balancing like this emotional piece of really feeling this tie to Foster and the consistency to which he, brings his play to the field. Like it felt like every time he was going out over the course of the last, 2-3 months, he was going 6 innings, 7 innings, and given up, 0 or 1 earned run. So I think there was this emotional pull to, want him to be here for an extended period of time, right? What we had to balance it with was basically what trade returns looked like coming back to us, and then potentially revisiting, a conversation with Foster in this offseason, right? I don't want to speak for Foster, but on our end, like there was just a clear desire to want him around. Having said that, like you can't just always get something done. There were a lot of factors at play here. Obviously, Foster and what he wants, what makes sense for the Nationals, but then also within like what makes sense for the Nationals, we have to balance it against the trade market. And we were happy about the return that came back for him, which once again just makes it a kind of a tricky situation to balance all the different things in the equation.
Paul, to what degree did the financial flexibility that you guys might have this upcoming winter factor in either to the Foster extension or big picture to the deals you made at this deadline?
Yeah, no, like really didn't have much of an influence on that. Like we, obviously we have conversations. I have conversations regularly with ownership, and felt good about where we're at. And, that didn't have any influence on whether we would or would not extend Foster. It just turned out that what we ended up doing was the best move for the organization.
Well, was there a scenario in which you hold on to Foster at the end of the year and then continue extension talks in the offseason?
Yeah, absolutely. And that was like a very real consideration for us as well. That it could have gone any basically number of paths. Like we could have extended him, we could have traded him, we could have just kept him, and he could have helped our team win down the stretch. And then, then we're faced with potentially offering him a qualifying offer at the end of the year and seeing how that goes. So we carefully considered all the different avenues here, and just at the end of the day, I thought that this was the best thing to do, but it was also the hardest thing to do because it was the one scenario where he wasn't going to be with our club, obviously.
Well, Paul Taboni sold high on Curtis Mead, Luis Garcia Jr., and Foster Griffin. So from an asset management standpoint, you like what Taboni did. You look at Mead, Garcia, Griffin. Each guy has had a stunningly great season. The return for Mead was impressive. The returns for Garcia and Griffin do not blow you away, truth be told. But Taboni may really like what he got back for Garcia and Griffin. This was Taboni on Monday evening on his approach to the 2026 MLB Trade Deadline.
Yeah, I think just zooming out, like what we're trying to thread the needle in doing is figure out a way to like create this stable foundation over the long run, right? While also giving ourselves a chance to win this year. And I think it's inherently tough to find those opportunities, right? We felt like we found it in Connolly, right? And the fact that he can be a starting pitcher for us for a period of time, but also help us win this year. But then some of the returns in the other deals as well, whether it's Giovanni Cruz or Will Dion or whoever, guys that can help us this year. So, and then obviously there were prospects throughout as well. So it's tough to really execute upon, and not to say we did it perfectly, but that was the goal, and I guess time will tell how well it works out.
Yes, sir. Time will tell. Now, something that very much stands out is the amount of pitching that the Nats acquired via these 4 trades. 9 pitchers, an infusion of pitching to the Nats organization. We, on Monday evening, had this exchange between Mark Zuckerman and Paul Taboni.
Hey, Paul. To what extent do you feel like there was maybe an emphasis on seeking pitching in exchange for offense? And is that just a reflection of what you felt like you already had in the organization versus what you felt like you lacked?
Yeah. We obviously, just looking backwards, we came onto a ton of pitching in these deals. did we want to pursue it? Yeah, we wanted to pursue it to help this year's team. We wanted to pursue it to hopefully allow us to roll out a better pitching group in the future. But we didn't want to be overly dogmatic about it. We didn't want to pass up on really good position players in favor of, lesser pitchers, so on and so forth. So it worked out that way. Is there a different world where we could have come on to a good amount of position players and been happy about it? Yeah, there is. So how it shook out, and there was some intention behind it, but also, once again, it wasn't something that we were just looking to go all out on pitching and neglect the position player side.
All right. Well, speaking of pitching, the Nats' bad relief pitching has struck again. The Nats, in this 6-3 loss at the Phillies on Monday evening, blew a 3-0 seventh-inning lead. 3 Nats relievers officially combined to allow 4 runs in 1 2/3 innings. Tom Cosgrove officially allowed 2 runs in 2/3 of an inning. He came into the game in the bottom of the 7th with runners on first and second, 1 out, and the Nats holding a 3-0 lead. He, to the first batter he faced, issued a 1-out walk of Edmundo Sosa to load the bases, and Cosgrove, to the second batter he faced, gave up a 1-out grand slam by Derek Hill to left field for a 4-3 Phillies lead. Clayton Beeter allowed 2 runs in 1/3 of an inning. He, in the bottom of the 8th, issued a leadoff walk of ex-Nat Kyle Schwarber, and then gave up a first-pitch 2-run homer by ex-Nat Bryce Harper on a moonshot to center field for a 6-3 Phillies lead. The homer went a projected 433 feet per Statcast. And Eddie Jean tossed 2/3 of a scoreless and hitless inning, though he, in that bottom of the 8th, issued a 1-out first pitch, hit by pitch, to the first batter he faced, Brian De La Cruz. And the Nats on Monday night, shortly after the end of this game, announced having optioned Eddie Jean to AAA Rochester. Your updated Nats relief pitching stats for this regular season: ERA of 4.99, WHIP of 1.47, 78 home runs allowed, worst in MLB, 7.32 strikeouts per 9 innings, worst in MLB. And the bad relief pitching wasted a good outing by Andrew Alvarez. The Nats on Monday morning announced having recalled Alvarez from AAA Rochester. He was the Nats starting pitcher for this 6-3 loss at the Phillies on Monday evening, and he did well. He officially allowed 2 runs in 6 1/3 innings with 5 strikeouts, gave up just 3 hits, all of which were singles, did issue 3 walks and a hit by pitch through 81 pitches, 48 strikes, 33 balls. Both of the runs charged to him came via Tom Cosgrove giving up that grand slam by Derek Hill. And then there is the Nats offense. The Nats, during this ongoing 6-game losing streak, have totaled just 16 runs. The offense right now is in a rut. The Nats on Monday evening scored just 3 runs, totaled just 6 hits, went 0 for 6 with runners in scoring position, and struck out 10 times. The Nats did hit 2 home runs to go with 4 singles and did draw 3 walks. The homers were by Abimelec Ortiz and Dalen Lyle. Abimelec Ortiz, he was the Nats starting first baseman and number 2 batter, went 1 for 3 with a solo homer. The Nats on Monday afternoon announced having recalled Ortiz from AAA Rochester, and Ortiz, in the Nats' 1-run first, had a 1-out full count solo homer to right field for a 1-0 Nats lead, despite having been down in the count at 1.12. The homer, his first career MLB regular season home run. Abimelec Ortiz, he is your Luis Garcia Jr. replacement, and Ortiz on Monday evening homered a la Luis Garcia Jr. The Nats got Ortiz from the Texas Rangers as part of the 5-prospect package for starting pitcher Mackenzie Gore via trade this past January 22nd. We did just see Ortiz at the major league level a few weeks ago. The Nats on July 12th announced having recalled Ortiz from AAA Rochester. He and the Nats 5-3 loss to the New York Yankees at Nationals Park on July 12th as the Nats starting DH and number 3 batter went 1 for 2 with a double in his MLB regular season debut. But the Nats that evening announced having optioned Ortiz back to AAA Rochester. Dalen Lyle, he is the Nats starting left fielder and number 6 batter, went 1 for 4 with a 2-run homer. Lyle, in the Nats' 2-run second, had a 2-run homer to right field for a 3-0 Nats lead, despite having been down in the count at 1.02. Also, C.J. Abrams, he was the Nats starting shortstop and number 4 batter, 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts, but he had a stolen base, and he on Monday morning was named National League Player of the Month for the month of July. Congrats to him. Abrams had a tremendous month. Game 2 for for the Nats at the Phillies Tuesday evening at 6:40. The Nats have listed Zach Littell as their probable starting pitcher for the game. All right, hey, for all of you parents out there with teenagers, so we know that you're already trying to keep a million different things under control, well, Cash App is here to help make sure that your teen's money and spending aren't adding to that craziness. Cash App is great, with the Cash App card available to teens 13 to 17 with sponsorship by an eligible parent or guardian. Every transaction triggers a real-time notification for you to see, empowering your teen to practice independence while giving you peace of mind by keeping track of your teen's spending. You could also manage everything directly from your own Cash App account without having to switch between the two, making it simple to stay connected to your teen's financial activity in a way that's both efficient and empowering. Also, no one wants unnecessary surprises. Well, with Cash App, there are no monthly fees, there are no minimum balance requirements, and there are no hidden charges when sending or receiving money. With the Cash App card, you and your teen's balances receive 24/7 fraud monitoring, and if the card ever gets lost, you have the ability to lock your teen's card right from your phone with just one tap. Parents, it's time to start focusing on your teen's financial learning and growth instead of stressing about the fine print. If you're ready to give your teen more independence while staying in the loop, start by downloading Cash App and sponsoring your teen's account today. Download Cash App today and sponsor your teen. Visit the link in the notes section for this episode. Cash App is a financial services platform, not a bank. Banking services provided by Cash App's bank partner or partners. Prepaid debit cards issued by Sutton Bank, member FDIC. Cash App Visa Debit Flex cards issued by Sutton Bank, member FDIC, and the Bancorp Bank N.A. pursuant to a license from Visa USA Inc. See terms and conditions for the Sutton Prepaid Card, Sutton Debit Flex Card, and Bancorp Debit Flex Card. Savings provided by Cash App, a Block Inc. brand. Visit cash.app/legal/podcast for full disclosures. Life insurance. You and your family hopefully never need it, but not having it can make a tragic situation even worse. We have a family friend who lost her husband to cancer. Him not having life insurance made the ensuing years even more difficult. Well, Ethos makes getting life insurance fast and easy, 100% online. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. There's no medical exam. You'll just answer a few simple health questions. You can get up to $3 million in coverage. Some policies are as low as $30 a month. You'll get your lowest rate from Ethos' network of trusted carriers. And know this, Ethos has a rating of 4.8 out of 5 stars on Trustpilot with over 4,000 reviews. Take 10 minutes today to get covered with life insurance through Ethos. Get your free quote at ethos.com/Al Galdi. That's ethos.com/Al Galdi. Ethos.com/Al Galdi. Application times may vary. Rates may vary. Trustpilot rating as of June 1st, 2025. Sometimes in life you do the right thing for a bad reason, and that's what the Baltimore Orioles did regarding the 2026 MLB Trade Deadline, which was on Monday at 6 p.m. Eastern. The O's sold and sold hard, including trading away franchise catcher Adley Rutschman, but they did this because their post-rebuild phase has become a disaster. As I posted on X on Monday afternoon, has any team ever conducted a successful rebuild and then flopped in the post-rebuild as much as the Baltimore Orioles have? The O's on November 16th, 2018 announced the hiring of Mike Elias as Executive Vice President and General Manager. His title now is President of Baseball Operations and General Manager. The O's tanked for 3 seasons, 2019 through 2021. The tank was long. The tank was hard. The O's in the 2019 regular season went 54-108, which was the second worst record in MLB and had the second worst run differential in MLB at minus 252. The O's in the 2020 regular season went 25-35. Going 13-27 after a 12-8 start. The O's in the 2021 regular season went an MLB worst, tying 52-110 with an MLB worst run differential of minus 297. The O's in August 2021 had a 19-game losing streak during which the O's were outscored 163-55. Like I said, the tank was long, the tank was hard, but I applauded the tank. I talked about how, if you were an O's fan, what you had to keep telling yourself was pain now, pleasure later. And the pleasure did come. the rebuild did work. The O's in the 2022 regular season busted out of their rebuild by going a stunning 83-79. The O's in the 2023 regular season went an American League best 101-61. The O's in the 2024 regular season went 91-71 to win the American League's top wildcard spot. But the O's stumbled in back-to-back postseasons. The O's in the 2023 MLB playoffs in a best-of-5 American League Division Series got swept in 3 games by the Texas Rangers, who did go on to win the 2023 World Series. The O's in the 2024 MLB playoffs in a best-of-3 American League wildcard series got swept in 2 games by the Kansas City Royals by scores of 1-0 and 2-1. And now have come back-to-back hideously disappointing seasons. The O's in the 2025 regular season went an American League East worst 75-87 with a run differential of -111, which was the second worst run differential in the American League. The O's in the 2026 regular season are 54-58 with a run differential of -35. So many things have gone wrong for the O's over these last 2 seasons. Horrible injury luck, regression/lack of development by key young players, some bad moves by Mike Elias, but bottom line, what was supposed to be a run of sustained success for the O's has fallen apart. The O's regarding the 2026 MLB trade deadline selling and selling hard was the right way to go, but for a very bad reason. I, over the years, have been a big fan of Mike Elias. I still like a lot about Elias, but what has happened with his team in these post-rebuild years is so bad and so disappointing. Consider this, too. There now have been 8 MLB trade deadlines over Mike Elias' time running Orioles baseball operations. The O's have been sellers for 6 of those deadlines: 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022, 2025, and 2026. Not good. The O's in the lead-up to the 2026 MLB trade deadline made 8 trades, including 6 notable trades, 4 of which were sell-side trades. Another trade was a buy-side trade that ended up being used for a sell-side trade, and another trade was neither buying nor selling. We'll take the trades in the order in which they occurred. The O's this past Thursday evening announced having traded minor league pitcher Zane Barnhart to the Detroit Tigers for catcher Jake Rogers. That was a buy-side trade, but stay tuned. The O's late night this past Friday night announced having traded starting pitcher Dean Kramer to the Minnesota Twins for outfield prospect Jomdardo Reyes. The O's on Monday afternoon announced having traded outfielder Taylor Ward to the Seattle Mariners for 3 pitchers. The O's on Monday afternoon announced having traded catchers Adley Rutschman and Jake Rogers and cash considerations to the Boston Red Sox for a package that included 3 of Boston's top 5 prospects per MLB Pipeline. The O's on Monday evening announced having traded relief pitcher Tyler Wells to the Tampa Bay Rays for starting pitching prospect Michael Ferret, and the O's on Monday evening announced having traded relief pitching prospect Joe Glassie to the Washington Nationals for outfield prospect Christian Franklin. The biggest trade by the O's in the lead-up to this trade deadline, of course, was the Adley Rutschman trade. So from purely a baseball perspective, this was a really good trade for the O's. The package that the O's got from the Red Sox, starting pitching prospect Anthony Ianson, who per MLB Pipeline at the time of the trade was Boston's number 2 overall prospect and the number 49 overall prospect in baseball. Starting pitching prospect Kyson Witherspoon, who per MLB Pipeline at the time of the trade was Boston's number 4 overall prospect. Outfield prospect Andy Azakar, who per MLB Pipeline at the time of the trade was Boston's number 5 overall prospect. Catcher Carlos Narvaez, and a player to be named later, or cash considerations. The O's got 3 of Boston's top 5 prospects per MLB Pipeline. That is a terrific haul. Now, the symbolism of this trade is impossible to ignore. The O's took Rutschman with the number 1 overall pick in the 2019 MLB first-year player draft out of Oregon State. He was supposed to be their franchise catcher for years to come. Instead, the O's ended up trading him to an American League East rival. I mean, let that sink in. But from purely a baseball perspective, I love this trade for the O's. This season is Rutschman's age 28 season. He's under team control through just next season, the 2027 season. And personally, I did not want the O's signing him to some big money contract extension. He is having a good season, but he is a catcher who is entering his 30s and who already can't stay healthy. Catchers, generally speaking, do not age well at all. He already is not aging well. Adley Rutschman for the O's over the 2025 and 2026 regular seasons was on an injured list 5 times due to the following ailments: left oblique strain, right oblique strain, left ankle inflammation, concussion, and left wrist inflammation, for which he was on the 10-day injured list at the time of the trade. And when you also consider that the O's have their new franchise catcher and Samuel Basallo, who already has been extended, trading Adley Rutschman was the right way to go. But of course, what should have been the case was that the O's were having a great 2026 regular season, of which Rutschman was a big part. That, unfortunately, is not the case. As for the O's trading Taylor Ward and Tyler Wells, and no surprise that the O's traded those guys. Ward is in his age 32 season and his final season of team control. Wells is in his age 31 season and is under team control through the 2027 season. Of the 3 pitchers who the O's got from the Mariners for Taylor Ward are starting pitching prospect Harrison Kryling, relief pitching prospect Brock Moore, and relief pitcher Alex Hoppe. This is not some overwhelming package for Ward. The O's this past November 18th announced having traded starting pitcher Grayson Rodriguez to the Los Angeles Angels for Ward. Ward was an oft-injured player for years, but he over MLB's 2024 and 2025 regular seasons was healthy and productive. He over 313 games, hit 61 home runs, and had an OPS of 770. Ward for the O's in this regular season over 111 games registered 2.4 wins above replacement per Baseball Reference, had a great 383 on base percentage, but also had a puny 346 slugging percentage. He has had a very strange season, but he has gotten on base a ton. He, at the time of the trade, was number 2 in MLB in walks for the 2026 regular season at 87. And the guy who the O's got for Tyler Wells, this guy Michael Ferret, if you're an O's fan and that name sounds familiar, it should. The O's took Ferret in the 14th round of the 2023 MLB first-year player draft out of State College of Florida, Manatee, Sarasota, and then traded him to the Rays in the package for starting pitcher Shane Baz. In a trade that was announced this past December 19th. So the O's for Tyler Wells got back one of the prospects who the O's traded to the Rays for Shane Baz. What's funny about all of this is that the O's remain in postseason contention. The O's are just 2.5 games behind the Cleveland Guardians for the American League's 3rd of 3 wildcard spots. So are the 2026 Orioles a good team? No, you can't say that. And they did do the right thing in selling hard. But they do remain in postseason contention in what is a woeful American League. Just 6 of the AL's 15 teams have winning records for this regular season. And yes, among the teams without a winning record for this regular season is the Orioles. And that'll do it for you and me for now, but there's more to come. Wednesday's show, episode 1381, will include a lot for you on the Washington Commanders. Also on Wednesday's show, I'll talk Washington Nationals and Baltimore Orioles. The Nats are at the Philadelphia Phillies Tuesday evening at 6:40 for Game 2 of a 4-game series. The O's are home to the Los Angeles Angels Tuesday evening at 6:35 for Game 1 of a 3-game series. Have a great rest of your Tuesday, and I'll talk to you on Wednesday.
Where were you when DQ went down?
Man, I was right there. I was like a little bit behind, but I really didn't notice what happened. I just seen the boom. Now I look up on the screen. I'm like, who's that on the ground? I'm like, oh, DQ. He all right. But, that's our leader. He a BMF.